Hi everyone, hope you guys all had a great weekend. We didn't do a live stream last night because the Super Bowl was going on and I had family over. We didn't get done till way late and there was just no way I was going to do it. Good news is, even though the Super Bowl was really boring overall, not that many great commercials either. There were only like 2 or 3 great commercials to watch, but I did end up winning on the squares. I won at the end, $200, so I was happy at that point at least. So at least winning at something here. As far as today, Bitcoin was obviously, I think it was down today towards the end of the day. Miners were up nicely though, so that was kind of a good sign there. Some were up much nicer than others, so we'll take a look at those. Obviously that was CIPHER, IREN, and TERAWULF did very, very well today. They were rocketing today, so that was great. And then we'll also take a look at a couple of things. So we got a story from CIPHER. We also have a story from Cango. And then we'll also take a look at Soluna as well. I'll give you guys my thoughts on that one. I did a little bit of a deep dive into them just to see what's going on with them lately here. And it's still pretty much the same thing that I've been talking about, but I'll give you guys my thoughts on that. We'll also take a look at the weekly, how the miners did against Bitcoin here. And we'll also take a look at the latest short data that we have. So we have a lot to go through as well. So we're going to try to get through this quickly here. As always, you guys know the drill here, right? Full disclosure below that. And let's get into what's going on here with Bitcoin and the miners today and everything else, and then we'll get into obviously the other stories that we have to cover. All right, so Bitcoin today looked like it was going to be in the green here, ended up actually being in the red today. It was down just a little bit, 0.25% there. It was up nicely on Sunday a little bit, at least 1.49%. Saturday we were down 1.82%. We're down for the new day as well, and we're kind of again going sideways a little bit with Bitcoin here. Really no catalyst to push us forward or FUD to bring us down right now, at least. So we'll see where we end up here later on this week here on that one. Markets were all in the green today, which was good to see. Let's take a look at Ethereum here. Ethereum was actually in the green today, was up 0.74%. It was down on the new day here. Miners did pretty good today for the most part. Some did really good. Bitfarms was up 5.61%. Nice 2-day bounce on that one. BitDeer was up 5.4%. Same thing with that. Cango continues to go down 5.52%, and we do have a story on them. We'll talk about it. They sold a lot of their Bitcoin there. CIPHER was up nicely today, 13.78%. It's had a nice run here in the last couple of days, going from 1262 or 1267 all the way to, well, basically it went up $4 in the last 2 trading sessions, more or less. Cleanspark was up a little bit here today, 1.09%, started out red in the day and then it finished out green. CORZ was also up nicely today, 10.35%. This thing is up also really nice here, bottomed out here about 1480. It's at 18.55 right now. It's up also about $4 there. Hive was up a little bit, 2.15%. Hot 8 was up 7.22%. IREN was up nicely, 10.33%. This thing has kind of started to rebound a little bit. Mara, for some reason, was down today, 2.18%. I think I saw something about a price downgrade on them from, oh gosh, who was it from? I'm trying to blank on the name right now, but somebody put a downgrade on them as far as price is concerned, their price outlook for them. Riot was up a little bit, 3.6%, and Wolf was up huge today, up 16.52% as a result of also Wolf and CIPHER getting a re-rating, basically on where the price, the analysts are looking for the price for both of these companies. And I think that was, oh gosh, Morgan Stanley, I think it was, MS, right? Morgan Stanley, I think came out with that analysis for them. And that's obviously what pumped CIPHER today, along with Wolf. IREN, I think, benefited from that as well, possibly even CORZ here. All benefited from that news there. As far as the holding companies here, they were all kind of mixed here. I mean, the one that did pretty good here was Galaxy. Galaxy was up 6.49%. Phoenix, for some reason, was down 16% here. That thing is kind of all over the place. Not a lot of volume, doesn't seem like on that one. The small miners here today were mixed as well. Nobody did really bad here. I mean, they were down 5%, up 4%, up 3%, 2%. Bitcoin miner ETFs did pretty good. BitQ was up 5%, BKCH was up 7%. DAP was up 5%, WGMI was up 8% as well, almost 8.5% there. The Ethereum holding companies were up a little bit also. BTCS did the best at 3.47%. Other companies we track here, BTC was down actually 3.82%. Wi-Fi was up almost 7% there. Open was up a little bit. Oracle was up nicely today, 9.64%. Nebius was up also nicely, 7.87%. Bakkt was down 4.28%. ASST was down back 14.86%. Kind of where it started out on Friday, so it came back again. At that point, who else do I have here? That was kind of up. Fermi was up 8.62%. And then the big guys here, Meta was up 2.38. Google was up a little bit, 0.4. Amazon was actually down 0.76. Microsoft was up 3.1. NVIDIA was up 2.5. Tesla was even up 1.51. EOS was up 7.55, and UAI was up just a little bit, 0.2. We're not going to really see where the miners are in the after hours right now because I have so much to talk about here. So we're going to get into everything else here really quick so we can go over that and get into Q&A as well. But here's what we got. Bitcoin right now for the month of February, up only 10.1%. Not really great. It's been a pretty bad start to February here. We'll see. I mean, historically, February has been pretty good for us. We've only had 2 prior months in the past years where we were in the red here, actually 3, going back to last year as well. So we've had 3. So historically, on average, we're up 11% here on February. We're down almost 11% there as well. So that's kind of interesting to take a look at that. And then the ETF inflows, outflows. We had inflows of last Friday of 371 million. Today we had about 165 million without IBIT reporting. So we'll see if that one was actually positive or negative tomorrow. And then let's get into the news stories that we do have here. CIPHER Mining announces date of fourth quarter and full year 2025 business update conference call. That's going to be happening on Tuesday, February 24th. And they're going to do that at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So about 2 weeks away from that right now as it is. And like I said before, last week, a lot of these guys are going to be reporting towards the end of the month and to early March as well at that point, especially the ones that have to do the full year annual statements. Those are audited. Those always take longer. Okay. Next here, we got Cango. Obviously, I mean, they're a big miner, 50 exahash, but as far as megawatts under management or under their control, it's very small. It's about 50 megawatts right now. But they reported 2 things today. One, obviously, that they completed a Bitcoin sale to strengthen financial position and advance AI transition here. I've been surprised that they haven't sold earlier. They've been holding on to Bitcoin here for quite a long time, especially with them being smaller, having everything hosted also for the most part, except for the 50 megawatts. Their cost to mine is obviously higher. I would have liked to have seen them obviously selling earlier instead of waiting until Bitcoin's down from hundreds, thousands down to now 70-some thousand. But they did it, and I don't know if they were forced into it. I think they've been maybe talking about it. Maybe they don't have confidence in Bitcoin going back up much higher in the short term. So this maybe was a consolation for them, right? They held on to it for a long time. But yeah, they're selling it here. So today they announced, based on a comprehensive assessment of current market conditions and upon approval of the company's board of directors, it completed the sale of 4,451 Bitcoin on the open market during the past weekend. So I'm guessing it was this past weekend. I think like this past Sunday and Saturday here, the last 2 days, which were settled directly in USDT for aggregate net proceeds of approximately 305 million in equivalent value. So with all that selling going on there, I'm guessing that was done on the OTC markets, not on the actual exchanges there, because obviously we would have seen the price of Bitcoin fall tremendously here, I think. Well, maybe not tremendously, but we would have seen definitely a fall. The full amount of USDT proceeds have been utilized to partially repay a Bitcoin collateralized loan. So at least that's good there. They get rid of some of the debt that they had. And then the divestment of the portion of the company's Bitcoin holdings was executed to strengthen its balance sheet and reduce financial leverage, which provides increased capacity to fund company strategic expansion into AI compute infrastructure. I'm a little skeptical how they're going to do that. Like I said, they host pretty much everything except for the 50 megawatts that they have purchased a site for. Everything else is hosted, so I'm not sure how they're going to be able to do that. They obviously need to buy more sites. Maybe they can work with the hosting providers and possibly get something going there at those facilities for AI. Maybe, I'm not sure. The company is executing a strategic pivot by utilizing its globally access grid-connected infrastructure to provide distributed compute capacity for the AI industry. This initiative will be implemented through a phased roadmap, beginning with the deployment of modular, containerized GPU compute nodes across existing sites to rapidly offer an inference capacity, particularly targeting the underserved long-tail demand from small and medium enterprises. Again, small and medium enterprises are going to want really, really good security, redundancies as well, I think, not just like the hyperscalers, but they're going to also want that, especially if they're doing it in mission critical things or something like that. Again, I don't know how that's going to work out. Could be wrong on it, but it might be a little tough for them. Let's see here. Cango's asset-light modular approach is designed to achieve faster deployment timelines compared to traditional data center models, while subsequent phase will focus on developing a software orchestration platform to unify its distributed compute resources there. Yes, modular is quicker to build out, but there's trade-offs with it as well. I mean, you can only fit so many GPUs into a box. Then you have to connect the boxes together, basically, instead of having it all in one location next to each other. There's some trade-offs, obviously, with that. To advance its AI strategy, Cango announced the appointment of Mr. Jack Jin as the Chief Technology Officer of its AI business. Mr. Jin is an accomplished technology leader with deep expertise in AI ML infrastructure, large-scale GPU systems, and scalable computing platforms. Previously at Zoom Communications, Inc., he architected and led the development of high-performance multi-node GPU clusters supporting large language models, inference, and fine-tuning. He also developed multi-tenant model training, scheduling, and GPU orchestration systems that significantly improved resource utilization and elastic on-demand inferencing efficiency. So that's great. So at least he has the chops there to bring in and help him out. His background in cloud-native infrastructure and high-performance computing aligns closely with Cango's roadmap to build a global distributed inference platform there. I mean, I wish him all the best on that. It's obviously not an easy feat to do or get into. We've seen the miners, it takes a while. It takes a good year plus, historically at least, for them to get contracts and things like that. And those guys have actually like a lot of megawatts that they own basically, and they can build out on sites that they also own. Whereas this is going to be interesting to see how well this goes forward. And maybe this is another way to go. Only time will tell. Okay, so there's that portion of it. The second portion that they released obviously was their letter to shareholders here. There were a couple of things that I wanted to point out here. Let's see. Over the past year, they have executed a disciplined entry into the industry, balancing speed with operational prudence to steadily build our position as a leading Bitcoin miner with global footprint across 4 key regions. Importantly, we have delivered on several key commitments, acquiring and enhancing hash rate efficiency of 50 exahash of on-rack machines, right? Those were all purchased from Bitmain. And then initially adopting a strategic treasury approach, divesting legacy operations, securing an initial 50 megawatt of energy infrastructure, and completing our transition to a direct New York Stock Exchange listing. These steps have set the foundation for the future transition from a hosted hash power toward a global distributed inference compute grid. Okay, again, so they're going back to that. Like I said, I think it's going to be tough, but they can definitely possibly do that. I'm not saying it's out of the question. I'm not saying that it can't be done. I think it's just going to be a little bit more challenging than if you actually have sites and megawatts associated with those sites that you can, do whatever you want with it. You can tear down a building if you need to, put up a brand new building for somebody. I think that's maybe more appealing to some customers, but maybe not. I'm not a veteran here in the industry. I'm just going off what I read. The initially adopting of a treasury approach, right? This was, I think, a flawed approach, especially since they got into it last year into Bitcoin mining, right? They started buying up sites. I think it was November, December. Or not buying up sites. They started buying up miners from Bitmain right around that time frame. And we kind of already saw what was happening with the miners that had a hodl position, right? Mara was not getting really priced well for their hodl position. We saw what was happening with MicroStrategy as well. Their hodl position didn't mean squat really for them. Price kept coming down for them as well. I think the hodl position is not what it used to be back in the prior cycles, where Bitcoin was the only on-ramp and miners were the second best on-ramp to get exposure to Bitcoin at that point. That's no longer the case here. I think you can do a hodl strategically, but that also entails selling a portion of it, keeping a portion of it. I think you can still do it if it's done right. Full hodl, I don't think is the way to go anymore. It just doesn't make any sense currently, at least in my opinion. Okay, going down here. So in response to recent market conditions, they have made a treasury adjustment to strengthen the balance sheet. Obviously, we talked about that. The strategic logic behind our proposed pivot here. So as previously communicated, our global mining operational experience and infrastructure provide a practical pathway toward our AI compute objectives. The growing AI era continues to face a power gap, a disconnect between rising compute demand and existing grid capacity. By leveraging our globally accessed grid-connected infrastructure, well, they don't really own it. It's hosted, except for the 50 megawatts that they own there. Cango is well positioned to participate in the opportunity, and our business model will revolve around leveraging and connecting these diversified power sources to flexibly supply high-performance compute capacity to meet long-tail inference demand through a scalable business model. Okay, again, I wish them all the best there. The transition is expected to follow a disciplined 3-phase roadmap. So near term, standardization and efficient deployment. They plan to enter the market with modular, containerized GPU compute nodes designed as plug-and-play solutions for rapid deployment across our global accessed infrastructure. Our focus will be on offering on-demand compute capacity by drawing on power from our current operations. Conversions to AI-ready infrastructure is designed to require limited upgrades, with sites expected to be operational in relatively short timeframes, which is true, right? I mean, if you can drop a container with GPUs in it, and you can probably do that in a couple months and get it hooked up and ready to go. So in that regard, yes, it's quick to get deployed. Creating the potential for progressively deploying additional revenue streams. While hyperscalers may encounter extended grid connection timelines and substantial capital needs, our approach is relatively asset light and allows us to efficiently address the long tail of AI demand. Okay. Yeah, you could possibly get smaller customers, right? Yeah, I think that is a possibility that you might be able to do there. Medium term, software-defined orchestration to complement our physical nodes. We intend to deploy a proprietary software platform to manage and integrate our distributed compute capacity. This architecture is expected to help us evolve into an ecosystem enabler, offering our global footprint as an integrated enterprise-grade network without typical infrastructure complexity. So think of it as AWS, basically, right? AWS has data centers all over the world. Depending where you are, you could pick your location, basically, that you want to run up, spool up a VPS, right? A virtual private server. For whatever needs you need at that point, you also have the Elastic Cloud there, all of that stuff there. Kind of think of it that way, right? So if they have these data centers or these modular containerized data centers at different locations, they can possibly have them talk to each other, right? There's going to be some latency there, but you can have them talk to them, and then you can obviously, put people or put customers where you have space basically at that time, something like that. It's kind of the way at least I'm envisioning it right now. Long term, there are global scaling and platform resilience. Our long-term vision is to grow this network into a mature global AI infrastructure platform by activating underutilized power across our mining ecosystem and eventually beyond. We aim to establish recurring revenue streams from platform services and compute agreements designed to be durable across market cycles. We believe our infrastructure, partnership, and operational resources offer a reasonable basis for this approach. Right? Okay, so they go into talking about some more there. But think of them also similar to, if you recall, BitDigital. Right? Not BitDigital. It was BitDigital. Yeah. BitDigital spun out their compute side of things, their data center business, into white fiber, right? But they were kind of the same spot there. They also were mining Bitcoin. They were asset light. They didn't own any sites there. Everything was being hosted for them, and they pivoted into actually buying up these smaller data centers sites in Canada, now in the United States as well. But that's kind of how they started out also. And the stock has actually done not too bad. At least white fiber has done better than the BitDigital side of things. BitDigital is now basically a Ethereum holding company or Ethereum treasury company. So they definitely pivoted their business as well into those two streams here. So could they also do it? Yeah, they can definitely do it here. But you got to buy sites, I think. You got to have control over your sites. You got to have control over the power, everything else. That is very, very important there. Redundancies as well is going to be important also. So yeah, we'll see how well they do going forward here. Wish them all the best in that, but that's definitely right now at least, that is the path to get some good revenue potentially. But they got to buy sites. Big thing is they got to buy sites, I think. Okay, so there's that. Next, let's get into. Do I want to get into that? Yeah, let's get into Soluna here. We'll do Soluna next, and we'll get into how the miners did last week, along with the latest short data on those. All right, so this is a viewer request here. Soluna obviously has been around for a very long time. I feel like they almost went out of business about 2 years ago, down towards the bottom of the bear market here in 2022. So it's probably more than that, more than 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. They were really, really close to possibly going out of bankruptcy or going into bankruptcy and going out of business. And they also had a change in their leadership there. They got a new CEO. The new CEO seems to be doing a much better job here. They are growing, but they are growing obviously very, very slowly still. And they are still doing a lot of these partnerships and what do they call them? Upflips or something like that. So we'll get into all that. But I looked over the data over the last 3 quarters. I looked also at their presentations here. Here is the latest presentation that we have on them. Right, so they have a possibility of getting to 1 gigawatt plus that's kind of their pipeline right now, right? But we'll take a look at what they have down here. Power AI and Bitcoin sustained tomorrow, renewable computing, all of that's great. Going down here, we are driving the convergence of renewable energy and advanced computing infrastructure. Up to 40% of generated energy goes unused. So Soluna's partnering with these sites that have wind and solar as well. I think most of it is wind, though, that they're partnering on these sites. That's why they have the wind farms in the back of the pictures here. Company growth right there. AI is driving exponential growth demand for compute. Yes, but they actually have to get customers for that as well. Miners prefer scalable, well-managed, and cost-advantaged hosting partners. Soluna bridges the gap, right? So they kind of do both there. Clean energy goes to waste due to curtailment, which is true. But here's what they have right now. So installed hash rate, 4.5 exahash. They currently have 123 megawatts. They're trying to get to 1 gigawatt, right, which is number 3 there. So they got Sophie with 25 megawatts operational, Dorothy with 50 megawatts operational, Dorothy 2 with 30 megawatts operational, 18 megawatts under construction here. They got Katie with 83 megawatts construction and 83 megawatts shovel ready. So they got all of these. I mean, you can read all these developments here that they're working on, right? They got stuff that's in development, which is Ellen, Hetty, Annie also in development. Faye is also in development. Those are obviously larger sites there with 100 megawatts, 120, 100 megawatts, 75 megawatts as well. So they do have a path to possibly get to 1 gigawatt. It's just a matter of if they can get the capital to do it, right? And you can see their Q3 revenue here was only 8.4 million. Not a lot of revenue. And a big portion of that was spent on just SG&A. We'll take a look at the table that I have for them as far as just kind of comparing the quarters. On that one, average cost of power was basically 3.25 cents there, which is really good. Curtailed energy capital raised, right? 64 million in Q3. Yes, they raised that, which was number 4. Capital raised in Q3 includes ATM of 20.8 million, warrants, SEPA 4.2 million, July offering. Yeah, so they've been also on a dilution spree here a little bit with the stock overall. They're talking about having possibly a 2.8 gigawatt power pipeline, right? So a lot of companies have a power pipeline, but until you sign those deals with the electricity power rider and get the land for it, you don't have that until it's actually signed there. Business segments, right? Prop, Bitcoin mining, Soluna, or JV owned Bitcoin mining machines, Bitcoin sold daily, right? So you guys pretty much know all of those things here. And then there are all their sites, right? A lot of stuff is still in development. Partners, right? They're looking for partners. So they partner with a lot of people on these things, which makes it also kind of tricky because some sites are more than 51% owned by them. Some are less than that. And then so they don't get reported, it gets reported differently and makes it a little bit more tricky as far as where are they actually and how are they actually doing financially, right? So they got locations. These are all their locations. A lot of them are obviously in Texas here. Energization, let's see here. They're trying to get to, it looks like at least this is their path here. 2026, they want to get to 368 megawatts. By 2027, they want to get to 696 megawatts. Hash rate, I guess this would be the equivalent. I doubt they're going to get to that because you're going to need obviously a lot of capital to fund that. And yeah, they just don't have the capital right now as far as revenues coming in. The base case, obviously $55 hash price. On the higher end side of things is 75 hash price as far as where could they be. Consolidated totals revenue. That point, project finance and unit economics here. What else? There was something else I wanted to show you guys on this one as well. Data center, they have a lot of slides. Okay, all right, so they got a pre-flip here. So this is the kind of way that they're doing. We make money from services, fees, developer profit, and our share of owner profit. So project, profit, cash, so this is kind of the way that they break things down as far as the way things work, right? So JV partner, third party. That's why I said it makes it really, really kind of hard to really see where they're at sometimes. Then they have the post-flip, the prop mining as well. The existing debt right now, it's not that bad actually. It's only 24 million or so. By entity, there was something else I wanted to show you guys as well. As far as AI HPC data centers, significant uplift to both IRR and ROIC, driven by equity uplift of delivering power and land. Okay. That's fine. Yeah, but they're nowhere near that right now as it is. Pipeline and, oh gosh, that was something else I wanted to show you guys. Where is it at? So they have their own Maestro OS is our force multiplier, so that's actually nice for their operations for Bitcoin mining. And let's see, okay, this is 2025 corporate focus, accomplishments, roadmap. Here we go. All right, here's where I wanted to go. Roadmap. Here we go. Project level capital formation, Dorothy 2 final completion. So that's kind of their roadmap for 2026, at least Q1. They want to get all these things done, which would be great. But you can see that these are modular data centers, it looks like. At least the way it looks like to me. I don't know if they're modular. I think they're just buildings that are built that way. But you can see that they're usually close to a wind farm or something like that. So they're getting the electricity, obviously, pretty at low cost when there's a lot of it and it's not all being used up. They're able to use it up, but when the wind obviously is not blowing, they're able to still connect to the grid there and get electricity that way, which is actually pretty good. On that regard, it's really, really good here. I do have a lot of slides. All right, let's get out of the slides here. I looked at their, obviously, investor presentation. I think that's the same one here. I checked out all of their latest quarterly results as well for them. And based on that, I also pulled in a bunch of things from them, from the presentations, all this stuff. I kind of wrap my head around where everything's at. And you can see here, we'll take a look at some of the ownerships here, Soluna ownership. So like for Dorothy 1A, 25 megawatts, right? It's 45% estimated that I could figure out, along with AI, and I could figure this stuff out. SLC acquired approximately 53% equity in 2023, it looks like. Dorothy 1B, another 25 megawatt site. That is 51% joint venture signed in May 2023. Dorothy 2, 48 megawatts, minority profit share, right? That's kind of the way that it's working there. So there's one site, project site. You got Sophie here as well. That is in Kentucky. It's 25 megawatts. That's at least 100% owned by Soluna Holdings there. So that part's great. You got Project Caddy there, or Katie. They got 1 and 2 here, 48 megawatts and 100 plus megawatts. That's obviously being worked on, but that's to be determined partnership. Secured 20 million financing, July 2025. Similar to Dorothy's structure as well. So again, a lot of these partnerships, which I understand because they obviously are not generating a lot of revenue right now as it is. So it makes it hard for them to try and do these projects by themselves. And they got to go out and find partners to help them out, finance some of these deals here. So I understand it from that part of it, but going down here, let's see, wind. Yeah, so wind is primarily their electricity source. They're around 70+%. Grid, gas, coal is secondary backup, and then solar is minority, only 10%. Nuclear, couldn't find anything on that. AI cloud customers right now, not much I could find about that. In early 2025, Soluna signed a deal to provide Atlas Cloud with NVIDIA H100s GPUs. Initially 64 unit scaling to 128. Atlas uses these for advanced AI video processing workloads. Okay, so we at least have that. I didn't see that at least on the Q3 results yet, so I'm guessing maybe that's going to come in Q4 there. San Francisco Compute Company also announced a deal with an unnamed San Francisco-based compute company to deliver custom AI cloud solutions. Right, we don't know much about that. What else? We have your infrastructure clients hosting. Right, they got the Neo Cloud tenant. Metroblocks partnerships as well. That's supposed to be starting here in 2026. So let's say a major deal with Metroblocks, the data center developer, to co-develop Project Caddy 2 specifically for it. So again, partnering with somebody to help them out. All right, down here, the thing that I wanted to kind of look at here is this is going back to Q1. So earlier in 2025, then Q2, Q3. So we're kind of going backwards here. So if you look at the number of shares that they had at the beginning of the year in 2025, or at least at the end of Q1, they had only 13.7 million shares. I think they did a reverse stock split at one point in, was it last year that they did at the beginning of the year or the year prior? I can't remember, but I know they did a reverse split, I believe. So they went down, obviously, but then they doubled it, basically, well, 2.3x that share amount in Q2 to 30 million shares. And now in Q3, last reported, this was back in November, I think it was reported, they had 68 million. So a lot of dilution happening there, and not much revenue growth. So if you look at revenue growth, your mining revenue, right, there were almost 3 million here in Q1. We actually are going down in revenue for Bitcoin mining. Q2 was 2.8, and then in Q3 was 2.8 almost as well. Rounding out the numbers there. Data hosting revenue has been increasing, so that's at least a good sign there. 2.4 million in Q1, 3.1 in Q2, and 5.2 million in Q3. Now, again, on the very, very small side of the scale here compared to some of the other miners that are out there. Combined revenues have been increasing though, but still for the amount of dilution that we're getting, or anybody is getting as an investor in Soluna, that's a lot, and not a lot of growth there as well. You haven't even 2x the growth here, but your shares already have basically 5x here in the number of shares. So that to me is a little bit of a red flag. There's gonna be definitely more dilution happening here, I believe, in Q4 as well. And then I also looked at current liabilities, property, cash, things like that. right? They obviously got a huge injection here in Q3. They're at 51 million cash right now, so that's much healthier balance sheet where they were from Q2, where they were actually negative on total current assets, current liabilities. It was a negative there if you took those out or subtracted the total current assets from the current liabilities, or the opposite, subtracted the current liabilities from the total assets, you would get a negative number there. So they're actually positive in Q3. We'll see where they come in Q4. But talked about that data hosting revenue. Let's see here, cost of mining. So here's a profit percentage on mining here. That has been kind of going up a little bit at least. So 34% in Q1, Q2 was 38, Q3 38, also a little bit higher there. So that's at least improved there. So that's kind of good. Profit on the, let's see, hosting, data hosting revenue. I'm guessing that's just hosting on side of things. That revenue has been coming down here as far as profit margin. So they were 75% in Q1, 73% in Q2 profit margin, and in Q3, 66% profit margin there. Now, when we look at their SG&A cost, I think this also includes possibly their stock-based compensation there as well. But that has actually been kind of up and down. So it was 5.9, almost 6 million here in Q1. That accounted for 110% of their revenue, of the combined revenue of those two items up there, mining and hosting. In Q2, that accounted for 89, almost 90% of their revenues. And for Q3 now, it's 96%. So don't love seeing that as well. Obviously, a lot of capital is being allocated to just paying overhead. Employees, obviously the CEO and everybody else, CFO. So I don't love seeing that. And so my big concern here is, at least at the time being, with them, it would be one thing to just kind of put in $1,000 and see where it goes. Not financial advice. This is just my thoughts here. Right, put in $1,000. If this thing does take off and gets more of these deals, partnerships, and things like that, and it can actually grow its revenue, it has to grow its revenue tremendously. But you're also going to be impacted by the constant dilution here that we're seeing, at least this past year. Dilution has definitely been an issue there, but that, I think, is going to continue going forward as well. The stock is, not that high right now. It had a nice bounce here with a lot of people thinking, this is the next AI company that's going to get a 1 gigawatt of power available, and it's going to get into AI and get the hyperscalers and all that stuff here. So if we look at Soluna here, where is it at? It is over here someplace. So there it is. It's $1.05 right now, right? And let's see, when did they do that stock split here? It should be listed on here someplace. There it is. Stock split was done in, when is that? 2023. Okay, so it was done back then. So they had a stock split at that point. That was a stock split 1 for 25, right? That obviously gave them much less shares outstanding. And we saw obviously a nice rip here, basically in the stock in September, right? It went from 48 some cents all the way up to $5 and something, $5.20, something like that, to the peak. And it's been pulling back. At that point, I was telling everybody, be careful with this one. This one looks like it's just being easily manipulated with the number of shares that are out there. It's easy to manipulate this one to bring it up, and it could definitely fall, and it has, unfortunately. But again, based on this, right? So this is, we see this normally with companies that don't have a huge market cap. And if we look at Soluna here right now, what is their market cap right now? Market cap, where is it at? Market cap 103 million. So it's actually much better than where it was just a couple months ago. It's down, but it's better than where it was at the 40 cents mark, where it was like valued at like 20 or something, 20, 30 million. I think at one point it was also like valued like at 5 million or something. Pretty low at that point. So as the stock has obviously gone up, more dilution has happened there, pulling on the ATM for sure. And going back here, this is a concern for me right now. Them not having a lot of revenue right now is also a concern, because you're going to need to pull on either debt, you're going to need to pull on the ATM, and which in that case is going to obviously dilute shareholders. So this is one of those ones where I would say, if you're going to do it, put in a couple $100, maybe $1,000 or a couple $1,000 into it, and see where it goes. Basically like a lottery ticket, right? If it takes off, it takes off. Until I actually start seeing that they are generating more and more revenue from all of these projects that they have, especially when they get into AI. At that point, we can maybe then say, okay, where's the number of shares at that point? Where are they valued at right now? Could this be possibly a good longer-term play? Can they execute on this also is a big thing for me. But for the time being, I'm not getting into it. I'm already deep in the miners as it is with Cleanspark, Bitfarms, CIPHER, and IREN, and also in WGMI for my retirement account. So I'm fully in already as it is. This one would be one of those things that if I did, like I said, I'd put in a couple $100 on it and see where it goes. Right? If I lose it, I lose it, not a big deal, but I wouldn't definitely put in a large amount into it. Unless, I mean, that's up to you, right? Not financial advice at this point. But yeah, definitely much smaller of a company here. All right, so there's that. Next, let's get into the miners here. How did they do last week? Well, last week was not a great week for them. We did bounce a little bit obviously on Friday, which was nice. Otherwise, it would have been a really bad week for us. But on this chart, we always look at the miners. How have they performed from their 52-week lows? And a lot of these guys have done really good here. Even from the 52-week lows compared to where they are right now, they're still sitting really good. IREN, obviously, still the top dog here, up 716%. CIPHER, same thing, 691. Those two are like neck and neck there. TeraWulf, not too far behind, 593. Then you got Hut 8, 428%. Bitfarms, 218 even. Core, 171%. Riot, 133. Hive, 84. BitDeer, 84. Cleanspark, 56. Strategy, only 29%. Marathon, 23%. And Bitcoin's up 17% from its 52-week low. And Cango is down towards the bottom, 9.7. Again, right? I talked about Cango here earlier. Big thing for them is asset light, and then also having a hodl position didn't help them out really in that appreciation side of things. And you can see here how far away they are from their 52-week highs. A lot of these guys are definitely far away. Strategy is 70%. Hive is 70% as well. Bitfarms is almost 70% there. A lot of these guys are way away from their highs. So last week, how did we do? Well, Bitcoin was down 16%. I tracked it Friday to Friday. TeraWulf was the only one that was actually in the green for last week. It was up 7%. IREN got pounced last week. It was down 22%. Cango was down 21%. Hive 16 along with Bitcoin there. Cleanspark was down 15 even. Marathon down 13. Strategy down 10. Bitfarms down 9. CIPHER down 8. We had Riot Core down 7. Hut down 5. And BitDeer being down 3. Things definitely look a little bit different here in 4 weeks. Again, TeraWulf is the only one that's been up 3% here from 4 weeks ago. Everything else is down. Biggest losers here are Hive, 33%, Cango 31%, and IREN 28%. And then you can see the rest of them at that point. Going back 8 weeks, things definitely look better, a little bit better at least. TeraWulf's up 14 along with BitDeer. Hut is up 20%, CORZ up 8%, IREN's up 5% from then. Cango's way down 37%, Bitcoin's down 20%. And you can see the rest, 12 weeks. Things look a little bit more different. Hut 8 outperforming everybody by 55% there. Or up 55%, I should say. TeraWulf up 27, BitDeer up 22, Core and Riot up 14, CIPHER up 4, Cleanspark up 4, and IREN's actually down 1% from 12 weeks ago. So it's been a roller coaster ride with these guys here. I mean, you can see here on the table here, we've had a red week. We've had 3 green weeks to kind of start out the year in January, and then we were kind of mixed, red, green, red. I mean, it was a tough couple weeks here that we've been in, a couple months actually, that we've been part of this. Okay, so that's kind of how that shapes up. Next here, let's get into the shorted position side of things here. I updated this as of, well, today actually, but the data is actually from January 15th. So there's always a lag on this information. It's always about 2 weeks behind, roughly. And here's what we have right now. Marathon is still the most, has the most number of shares shorted at 105 million right now. Followed by TeraWulf at 98 million, Cleanspark 84 million. So those are like the top 3 based on share amounts that are being shorted. Bitfarms is at 75, right? Core at 63, and you can see the rest of them down the list there as we progress. Percentage of average floated shares shorted there. TeraWulf and Cleanspark are obviously in the top there, with TeraWulf being 36% shorted, Cleanspark 33%, Marathon 28% also. So TeraWulf has actually done pretty well here as far as performance has been on the stock price, and then getting also the analysts increased their price targets on them today from Morgan Stanley, I think it was. Right, those shorts are going to be probably covering here, I'm guessing. They're going to be probably covering it. Cleanspark obviously is trying to get an AI deal. Once they do get an AI deal, those shorts will be covering pretty quickly, I think also. Marathon is Marathon, right? It hasn't done all that great. It's also been downgraded, I think, to a lower price point by an analyst today or over the weekend, whenever it was. So that's not looking good for them. I'm not sure if the shorts are going to cover, or the shorts are going to be more aggressive on that one, possibly going forward. Then you got Core at 21%, BitDeer at 20%, along with Hut 8%. IREN's at 17%, CIPHER's at 16%, Riot at 16%, and you can see the rest. Cango's the least shorted there at 5.63% of the shares shorted. On this table here, you can see the share shorted value versus market cap. So you got the market cap here for IREN, right? 15.3 billion right now. And I think this is as of Friday's numbers, market wise. And then everybody else, and you can see how many, what's the amount being shorted on them. Number of shares shorted changed from last time. So last time we looked at it was about 2 weeks ago. We can see this on here. Hive had a huge increase of 6.35 million shares being added to the short position there. Riot with 4.5. TeraWulf with 4.2 million. CIPHER with 3.5. Hut with 2.9 almost there. Cleanspark with 1.8. So a lot of these guys have obviously had an increase in this short position there. Only ones that were down were Cango and Bitfarms. Bitfarms down almost $1 million there. Well, kind of more $750,000 down. Not much, but still down. Percentage from last time. So Hive had a huge increase here, almost 37% increase in the shares shorted there for them. Hut 8 also 17%, Riot 8%. Who else had a high number? CIPHER up 7% from last time. That's the increase on it. And then we obviously talked about the price action here on these guys from 12 weeks ago. So we're not going to really dive into that. 12 weeks shorted change here. CIPHER's up 38% from 12 weeks ago. CORZ up 21. Marathon's up 16. Hut is up 15. IREN is actually up 6. Then we've got Hive being down 2. TeraWulf being down 7% along with Cango. Riot being down 10%. Bitfarms down 12. And BitTier being down 12 also. And then Cleanspark's down quite a bit there, 31% from 12 weeks ago, where it was shorted at that point to where it is actually right now. Okay, so that's actually kind of interesting to take a look at that as well as time progresses here. And here is the historical short numbers for each of these guys here. BitTier going back to basically July, end of July here, early August. They were at 20.9 million. They're at 24.8, so not that huge of a change there. They did peak at 29.94 in, what was that, November? Yeah, Bitfarms here started out 46 million. They went all the way up to 88 million, and that has been coming down here every month for them. Trying to figure out what was at that time that happened that we had a huge spike on them. I don't know if it was the convertible notes that they got at that point. That might have been it. I think this is attributable to that. Cango, obviously 1.2 million. They're at 3.73 million. It's been increasing on them slowly, but obviously not a lot of shares. CIPHER was at 54 million to start out, going back to end of July there. And they're at 53, so they're actually down from where they were at that point. They peaked at 65.61 million shares, again, in October there, being the highest for them. Cleanspark was at 60. They get down to 57, then a huge jump to 77. I think this is also with their convertible notes. Got up to a high of 81.48, and then it's kind of been up and down here. It's actually, well, they're up. This is the highest they've been shorted here, 82.42 million on them. Next, here we got CORZ. CORZ at 57, looks like it peaked at 66.3 in August. And it's been kind of up and down, up, down, up, down. It's kind of been flat here over the last couple reporting periods. Hive started at 11, it's up to 23. That one's definitely doubled the number of shares shorted there. Hut 8 was at 15.2, now it's at 19.49. Slight increase for them. IREN obviously started at 26. They got up to 15, almost 60 million shares shorted there. And that's been coming down also for them for the most part. We saw a slight increase, obviously, here, this last reporting number for them. And then we got Marathon here. It was actually 106 million shares shorted in end of July. Got up to a high of 107, and then it came back down, and it's going back up. It's been pretty steady, over 100 million there for the most part. And the last two here, we got Riot. Riot started at 74, came down to 48, 47. And it's kind of coming back up here a little bit to 55. For them, not sure why. Is it just because they haven't been getting deals? I mean, they got a deal, small deal, but maybe that's why it's going up. I'm not sure why other than that. And then lastly, TeraWulf was at 88 to start out with. Got up to a high of 109 million, and then it's down to 93, back up to 98 million right now as it is. So that's kind of where we stand on the shorts. Right, the shorts, at least in the last 3 months or so, were in the right on these things. The longs didn't do so well, but the shorts probably did pretty good here. Nonetheless, over that period of time frame, we'll see if that changes going forward, if they change their minds or not. And then, right, if they change their minds, obviously that might be a good sign for the stocks to go up. But the stocks could go up without them changing their minds, and they're going to cover their shorts eventually anyways. So that is it, where we are with all the stuff here. All right, let's get into Q&A here. Spreadsheets, I'll make these available to the Patreon members tomorrow. Link for that is down in the description if you want to join. A couple bucks a month. I think it's like $4 a month. You get access to all my spreadsheets and all the data that I hone in on these guys here. All right, let's get into Q&A. And we'll call it a day because we're going on already 45 minutes of me just yapping. Let's see what you guys have to say on any of this stuff and anything at all. As always, I'm going to work my way up. Oh, doesn't look like we have that many here, so that's actually looking pretty good. We might be able to get this done in the next 10 minutes or so. All right, John says, okay, Bitcoin fear and greed index at near all-time low of 10, extreme fear, historically bullish, patience will pay off big time. I also think the same thing there. Let's see, Roger says, they liquidated everyone on the way down. Now they are shorts and they are going to get liquidated on the way up. I'm hoping that's the case there. Sadie, thank you so much for the likes reminder. Maybe a silent question. What caused IREN to go down so much compared to Hut 8 and others? Was there Q2 results? People were expecting a deal. They didn't get a deal, obviously, done before the quarterly results. So that's why the stock got kind of punished for that, which still makes absolutely no sense because they're looking still, or they're targeting still, what is it, over $3 billion annual run rate by the end of the year here. Doesn't make any sense to me. Good. Andre, thank you so much. Okay, so our Cleanspark stock continues to do nothing. Why? I'm very confused. They need to prove themselves and actually get an AI deal. If they can do that, then the stock's going to take off, right? We saw the same thing happening with CIPHER. I mean, we saw it kind of run up a little bit before deals announcements, like somebody knew that was happening and somebody was front running it. But patience, give it time. Eventually, we'll see those guys get a, fingers crossed. We're hoping that they get a deal, right? I mean, the deal should go around a little bit between all these companies here, potentially. But yeah, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it right now. Andre says maybe because has dropped 50% in 3 months. Talking about Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin. So Mark says Cleanspark has been really disappointing. It's been over a year in this range. Yeah. I mean, we got to a high of $23 back in, what was it, September, October timeframe, right? If we go back that far, they did get up to that $23 and it came down with everything else. But it's been pretty range bound here. Similar to, well, Bitcoin actually was down. They were at least up for the year. So that was good there. Sarah says, yeah, but I'd consider their business one of the best, and in comparison to the others, it's done terrible. I'd expect it to be around 20 to 25 now, and 30 to 40 when BTC runs again. Sub 3 billion market cap is a joke. I would agree with you there. Right, they're definitely one of the top ones as far as performance is concerned and growth and just operations and things like that. They're definitely not being valued well there for that. Again, is it because they hodl Bitcoin? I mean, they do have, what is it, like 11,000 Bitcoin or something like that? It might be even more than that now. I'm going off memory here. But it seems like them, Mara as well, not getting really valued on the hodl. Would that, I'm just throwing this out there. Could the hodl be used for something better, like building out AI data center or something like that? Maybe when they do that and they start, maybe saying that we're going to sell some Bitcoin to build out this data center for this customer or something like that. Maybe at that point the stock goes, up to the roof. Because, I mean, you're just not getting the value for the Bitcoin. All right. Mark says 100% all Cleanspark has to do is look at IREN and execute the way they have huge potential, in my opinion, much bigger than others. I think they also do have huge potential here, right? I wouldn't say they have more potential than IREN or CIPHER. CIPHER has more megawatts right now than what Cleanspark has. So I think the IREN CIPHER, right, are great. They got a lot of megawatts. If Cleanspark can continue to buy up sites and things like that, they can possibly get in that range. But I would say Cleanspark's like a good number 3. I mean, even TeraWulf here is a good option also. I mean, so we got like really 5 good companies in there potentially with good megawatts. You got IREN, CIPHER, TeraWulf, Cleanspark, and what's the other one I was looking there? Hut 8 as well, I think, right? I mean, you could also include possibly Riot. Riot has close to 2 gigawatts, I think, between their sites. So, I mean, you got quite a few of those companies that do have huge potential, potentially. All right. Mark says, this AI opportunity and demand won't last forever. I mean, if you look at the Mag 4, right? So you got, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta, right? Those guys are looking to spend like $650 billion just this year alone to build out AI. Will they be able to spend all of it this year? I don't know. Maybe they can make deals and make plans for building out in the next 2 to 3 years. That's a possibility there, but it's a lot of capital that's going to be obviously going into sites, megawatts, all that stuff. And these guys obviously have it here, so they should benefit from it as well. Source says Mara is a garbage company. The stock performance makes sense. They lose money in everything they do and aren't even close to profitability. Yeah, I hate calling any company garbage, but they have issues. They need to resolve some of those issues within internally and things like that. The stock obviously has not done nowhere near what anybody thought they were going to do. I mean, they were the darling child of 2021 cycle, right? They were the only ones that were actually going up in price while Bitcoin was going up in the second part of the year as well. Everybody else was either going down, flat, the miners wise. They were the only ones that did that. And this time around, it's been like the complete opposite of what happened in 2021, which is quite disappointing. I'm sure it's disappointing for a lot of Mara shareholders there. George, Cleanspark is always disappointing, but I still believe in them. So do I. I believe in the team. They can execute, right? They've done a pretty good job executing on Bitcoin mining. Came out of nowhere, basically, and became one of the top 3 largest Bitcoin miners there within, what has it been, 4 years or something like that. So can they do the same thing if they put their minds to it? I think so. Right? I think they can do the same thing with AI. All right. Midwest Island, both Cleanspark and Bitfarms are the same boat. Both hasn't done much. Yeah. Well, they've gone up and they've come down, but if you look at over a period of time, they're kind of like flat, more or less. Let's see here. What is the RSI for IREN? Geez, I don't know. I'd have to look that up right now. I'll just look it up. I don't know off the top of my head right now. All right. So do you think Cleanspark would get a deal in 2026? And if IREN gets a 3 billion annual run rate, where would you value their stock? Well, so if IREN, if they get a 3 billion annual run rate with, I think it's going to be actually more than that, possibly depending where Bitcoin's at. But if they continue to mine Bitcoin here for the remainder of the year, maybe a little bit less than what they are right now, right, as they build out sites and convert them over into AI. But they're still going to be mining Bitcoin there. And obviously the HPCI compute side of things, if they get to 3 billion, they should be much higher. I think they should be somewhere in the $100 plus range. So IREN, let's pull that one up. IREN right now, let's see. If we get into 3.4 billion with HPCR, which is I think what they're targeting there, and they still get like 500 million in revenue from Bitcoin mining, which is 75%, which is only 75% of their revenue from, when was that from? From Q2 self-mining revenue, right? So I did that. So whatever their revenue was in Q2, which was our Q4, right? Ended in December. I just took that number, basically multiplied it times 4 quarters and multiplied that times 0.75 to basically say if Bitcoin continues to go down, difficulty goes up or something like that, 75% of that, if they can at least generate 75% of that in the next year. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. We could be looking at a total of 3.9 billion annual run rate. At that point, I'm in between $117 and $176, right? The analysts have in between, well, on the high end, $136, low end 39. I think the low end 39 is just ridiculous, but somewhere between 84 and 136. That puts me kind of square in the middle, at least on the high end side of things, where the analysts have them here, or at least puts the analysts in the middle of where I have them at least. So that's kind of where I'm thinking for IREN going forward. Okay, I talked about that one. Oh, and do I think Cleanspark would get a deal in 20? I do think I think there's a high probability that they will get a deal in 2026. All right. Daniel says, I have heard on more than on occasion how top Cleanspark company members are getting large financial and stock rewards. They're not the only ones. They got it recently here as Matt got his deal to become basically the CEO, and he got a retention, stock-based compensation for retention. They called it some like retention compensation or something like that. But he got stock in that. Some of the other execs also got it because they wanted to retain those people to stay on after the prior CEO was leaving or let go, right? Whichever way you want to look at it. So they did do that, and that has come down. They also had to obviously pay off the prior CEO for him leaving, right? So all that stuff vested for him. So yeah, there was a lot here in the last probably 2 quarters that will get much better later on. But they're not the only ones, obviously. IREN guys got a nice stock-based compensation there as well, which they deserve, right? The stock has done fantastically well here, so we're benefiting as shareholders. I have no problem with them benefiting it as well. I think it's a little high still, but it's still not as bad. And then we got Mawra, right? Obviously, right? All those guys get a bunch there also. All right, here, let's see here. Sheath, do you think it's better to stay a pure play BTC miner if the AI bubble pops for the data center companies? I don't think it's going to pop, but if it was to pop, you want to be diversified. I'm not saying that you have to go in all in on AI. I think there is, possibly a good mix between the two, whether it's 60-40, 30-70, whatever that mix is on AI to BTC or vice versa. I think you don't want to get out of it completely. For one, right, you can curtail that load relatively quickly for the electricity companies, which obviously is a benefit for them. Because with AI, you need to have that running 24/7. There's no way of stopping it. I mean, you want to keep those uptime as close to 99.9999, right, as possible. So, yeah, I think I would say it might be best for them to keep a portion of it at least. But if it was an AI bubble to pop, which I don't think is going to happen, yeah, diversify a little bit, right? All right, Roger's got a question here. Why don't they just buy out these miners completely, like IREN, Cleanspark, etc.? Well, geez, that was my original thinking back in 2024 when IREN started talking about, getting into AI and working with possibly with hyperscalers. I'm like, why would the hyperscalers work with you? Why wouldn't they just buy them up? It'd be so much easier for them. They could just, at that point, the miners were valued so much lower. They could have spent, 5-6 billion, maybe even 8-10 billion on one of these guys here, gotten all of their assets, gotten all of their power that they needed, and it would have been a heck of a lot cheaper for them to do it. So I was quite a bit surprised that they weren't doing it, because that's kind of what I would have done. Just buy these guys up. If you're looking at that much megawatts demanded, it would have made much more sense to me that you just buy them up. But I don't know. I think with them running here recently, at least some of these guys, it's going to be hard to buy them up. You're going to have to definitely pay a huge premium, because all the investors are basically pricing in the potential that they have for all the megawatts coming online here in the next year to 2 years, right? And they're going to want a much higher valuation had it not been, now compared to when it was before. All right, Midwest Islands. Who will get a deal first, Cleanspark or Bitfarms? I think it might be Cleanspark, and the only reason I think that is because they have a pretty good sites around the Atlanta, Georgia area. That has a large population around there. Plus, you got obviously South Carolina right next door and things like that. So I think for that reason, and they have more megawatts available. Whereas Bitfarms is building out, 18 megawatts data center, or maybe 30 some odd megawatt data center in Washington State. So I think for that reason, I think maybe Cleanspark. But could be wrong, but I think that might be the case. Bethany says, Mawra is a bad stock. I'm surprised they are not under $2 yet. I will buy when that happens. They own assets. They own Bitcoin, right? So they really shouldn't go down to $2. If they do, I mean, yeah, at that point, I think I would buy it also. All right. She thinks probably Bitfarms. Okay, so we have a little bit dissenting opinions there. Bethany, it's going to be hard to get a deal for Clean. I think they may team up with NVIDIA. Bitfarms will get a deal before. Okay. All right. You guys have different opinions there. Bethany says buying Mawra under 2. Mawra going to pay their CEO another $40 million. I mean, we'll see when that comes out. Yeah, I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm okay with it if the stock is doing well and the shareholders are obviously benefiting from it, but if they're not, no. You should even pay back the company, I think. I'm kidding there. I don't think they should pay back the company. Why does MicroStrategy buy out the miners? They don't need to buy out the miners. I mean, the way that they're buying Bitcoin is basically they're hedging their bets on Bitcoin going up faster in value than the dollar depreciating, I think. So that's kind of their math, basically, on the debt that they have. So they don't need to do that. They got this little spin wheel going on right now as it is. It doesn't make any sense for them to get into that, at least right now. Yes, they could get it at a much lower cost at that point, but then you have to also buy new machines every four. It's a different beast altogether. I don't think they need to do that. Benny says, so for people that say, why don't they buy out these miners? Listen, it's in their best interest to contract it out. They don't specialize in data centers. It doesn't make any sense. Some of these guys do specialize in data centers. Amazon has obviously been building out data centers for a long time. Google, same thing. Different data centers, right? They were data centers for storage and upload, download. It wasn't for AI inference and things like that. It's a little bit of a different beast, but they have experience in this stuff. Benny says Apple makes phones. They aren't interested in running data centers. Well, they also run data centers, I think. They run their own Apple hardware data centers with their own Apple silicon and things like that. But yeah, they don't. I mean, everything that you do on an iPhone right now pretty much connects to their cloud, right? When you sign in, it's going into their data centers. So they do own data centers still. But they're definitely on the smaller side of things. I mean, if you look at Apple TV, Apple Music, the watch obviously connects with the cloud, right? Stores all that stuff in the cloud there, but it's all your stuff, right? So Midwest Island here. Will these miners be totally out of mining before the next halving? I don't think so, no. They might decrease the amount of hash rate that they have, especially like IREN. I think IREN definitely wants to decrease that and might be completely out of it. Bitfarms is another one that's obviously targeting that as well, but I don't think they'll be completely out unless they get all their megawatts signed up for AI compute, which I don't think is going to happen here in the next 2 years. That's just my thoughts on it. All right, we got, let's see, a couple more coming in here. We'll get those. Let's see, when BTC is going to run again. When's Bitcoin going to run again, you think? When do I think it's going to run? I've heard different stories on that. I've heard people talking about that we could go sideways here for the next couple of weeks, couple of months before we rally. Others have said we could go up, now. I think some are saying that we are waiting for the Clarity Act reform bill to come in. It's hard to tell. Don't know. I don't really care when it goes up. I want the miners to go up, but Bitcoin obviously going up has always been a much longer term play for me. In 2017, I mean, I'm going on 10 years right now. And at that point, we were thinking, hey, Bitcoin's probably going to get to like 500,000 by this time. Hasn't gotten to that point yet. So it still might be another 10-year plan to have Bitcoin get to $1 million here. Could we be surprised earlier than that? Sure. Would I love it if it gets there earlier? Yeah, it'd be great. But I'm holding on to Bitcoin that I have right now as I wouldn't even say right now it's a retirement plan, but definitely a retirement bonus as it is. All right, but since all these miners are going into AI, perhaps we should open up our own mining company and start mining. It's a tough business. You got to get in the right time. You got to get in, you got to get in sites and things like that. It's a tough business. You need a lot of capital to do that. Let's see, Benny says, did you see Trump say made a mistake on Kevin Warsh? I did see that. I thought that was fake. If it's true, then that's kind of like, well, you still can change your mind. I mean, you haven't really nominated him yet. He hasn't gone through the process. So, I mean, you can still change your mind on it, but it's kind of crazy. I don't know if he's thinking that might have been a mistake because of what the market did. Market took a dump at that point. But yeah, I mean, how well did you vet him? I mean, everybody knew that he was kind of a hawkish guy, right? Unless he whispered in your ear, yeah, I'll lower the taxes or interest rates. He says, did you see that Anthropic is looking for 10 gigawatts? I did see that. I was going to talk about that, but I had just so many other things to talk about. I did see that. That's awesome to see that they're looking to grow even more. So that's obviously going to be a good thing for the miners here, potentially. So a lot of companies are doing great. I also saw the latest data on their, not Opus, what's the other one that they use? Own it? What's it called? Their AI model is really, really good. There was also somebody that built a C compiler with AI, which is just crazy. I mean, the stuff that we're getting into right now is freaking awesome. Maybe a little scary, but it's awesome nonetheless. If I can build my own, when was it? last week I was asking one of the AI agents, if you were to build a new operating system, what would you do? Or how would you build it? What would you make differently? And it would be definitely a much, much different operating system that we're used to, like Windows, Mac, OS, and Linux. The way they described it would be kind of cool. Maybe we'll have one of those operating systems coming online here in the next year or two. Let's see. All right. Goon the Raccoon, okay. How do you think, that's kind of cool in the screen name. How do you think this period will affect stablecoins such as Hedera? I've lost hope on stablecoins, well, except for like USBTC and right those like Tether, right? I mean, it's huge backing in that one. But the other ones, the small players, Hedera, I had huge hopes for Hedera. I thought it had great backing from companies like Google, and there was others in there. I think T-Mobile was in there also. It had huge backing, but it has not done anything near in the last 4 years what I thought. I actually lost money on it. I still own it, holding on to it, hoping that it goes back to where I got in it, and that way I can sell it. Might have to hold it for a couple more years here. We'll see. There are one point or another, I'm going to get tired of it. I'm just going to sell it at a loss and be done with it. Disappointed for sure. But aren't you worried holding Bitcoin for years to come will be dangerous for you considering quantum computing? No, because the developers will figure out the quantum proof SHA algorithm, whatever it's going to be. All right, I'm not too worried about it. They already know that is a possibility there, and I'm sure they already have solutions for it as well. I think MicroStrategy even debunked that one as well, so I'm not too worried about it. We'll have a quantum SHA algorithm at that point. Sadie, thank you so much for the likes as well. Again, and yeah, we'll call it a day. We're going on an hour as it is. So we'll see what happens later on this week. It shouldn't be, nice that we got actually price increases from some of the analysts on CIPHER and TeraWulf. Hopefully we get another one for IREN and others going forward. Hopefully Bitcoin doesn't dump on us again. I would be happy if we go sideways for a little while and then kind of bounce from there. But I definitely don't want to go back any further. And yeah, we'll see where things go. Okay. I think that's it. I've covered everything. All right. I love you all. I hope you guys have a great week. And we'll cover anything that happens tomorrow at that point. All right. I'll see you then.